Let me do the tease very quickly.
All right, go.
Coming up on Tech News Today is Microsoft. Oh, I meant.
Damn, you should have kept that up.
Coming up on Tech News Today, is Microsoft really a gaming company now? We look at their earnings report and find some evidence that maybe they are. Also, what's going on with Hulu? Are they going to become a cable company, or are they not going to have any videos anymore? We have Sperling Reich on to explain that. And Netflix is raiding the ISPs. They're getting a little aggressive. We'll tell you about all that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Thursday, January 27th, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by MailRoute at mailroute.info, a secure hosted service that provides enterprise-grade virus and spam filtering to companies of any size. Try it right now, absolutely free at mailroute.info. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Dr. Kiki.
And I'm Jason Howell.
And this is the show where we try not to bore you. We try to keep you entertained and interested, But most importantly, we want you to be informed with factual and accurate information about technology. And to help us with that, we've put together a crack team today. Joining us all the way from Hollywood, California, Sperling Reich, digital entertainment technology consultant and host of Showbiz Sandbox. Good to have you back on the show, Sperling.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. Also joining us from the far reaches of the mountains of Utah, the chief emperor of the Frog Pants Network and master of gaming, Scott Johnson.
And surveyor of all I can survey. Yes, thank you for having me on again. I love being on. And being on an episode where Dr. Kiki is literally being kicked out of the physical space.
I know.
Is something a little bit special. I'm really glad to be here for that.
Get out of the IRL.
Some people may not realize that Dr. Kiki is a mother-to-be mere weeks away at this point.
Weeks away. Yeah. 4 weeks.
So this is the last time she'll be coming into the cottage.
Yeah, because I don't want to be caught far away from home.
Like driving along.
Having to drive. Ouch.
Where's the nearest hospital?
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
I need to deliver a baby. My own.
My baby, yes.
So anyway, but you'll be on Skype, right, until the baby comes. All right.
I'll be at home, the comforts of my own home. It'll be nice.
Well, let's kick it off with a little bit of look at Microsoft's earnings report. Good earnings report, posted $8.17 billion of profit, revenue of $19.95 billion. That's about even with last year. However, entertainment and device revenue made up a much bigger portion of that now. Entertainment and device revenue, that's the Xbox, that's Kinect, that's Zune. That rose 55%, mostly thanks to Kinect, while the Windows and Windows Live department, their revenue fell 30%. And you do expect the Windows revenue to fall over last year, because last year was the kickoff of Windows 7. But the revenue gap between the two is now just $1.3 billion, and a year ago it was $4.8 billion. So I don't know, Scott, is Microsoft becoming a gaming company?
Well, it used to be that their strategy was, let's make sure we have Windows on every possible platform. If refrigerators decide to have an operating system, let's make that Windows. Let's make, Windows CE and later Windows Mobile, Windows Mobile, and all these versions of Windows kind of was their strategy. And it's kind of shifted to a device strategy, and where they're strongest, it seems to me, is in things like their games division. The 360 continues to do extremely well. Their sales numbers on that new version of the 360 have been through the roof. They've done really well and competed strongly with Sony and Nintendo and kind of killed them a couple of months ago in terms of overall sales. So the fact that the Kinect is having a pretty good adoption rate and the 360 continues to become a strong part of what they do, I think that they have to internally be saying, well, look, you guys, we're showing real aptitude at this stuff. Like, we are good at this. And while we've been great at desktop, we've been great at OS, that can continue to sort of happen and do whatever it does. But we really should start focusing on more ways of getting our core strengths out there. And in the gaming business, I mean, they're ruling the roost in the States right now. They're doing really, really well.
Yeah, and they are becoming a platform for entertainment as well on the Xbox. You know, you're able to watch ESPN 360 on your Xbox. You're able to buy videos on the Xbox. So with Kinect added in, all of the kind of multimedia features, this is becoming a strong platform.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. It is a strong platform for entertainment, and I think that's a point that we should sit on for a second. Is that it's not just gaming; it's going to be all sorts of content providing, and also allowing it to be a social experience as well.
Sperling, do you see Microsoft as a player in entertainment and games, and declining as a typical software provider, which is what the bulk of their business is still based on?
Well, I think from a corporate point of view, absolutely, they're always seen as an operating system, and as they do have one of the largest databases going in Microsoft SQL, competes with Oracle. But at the same time, when it comes to entertainment, people generally think of them not for their Windows media, but more for Xbox, and how Xbox can increase revenues, or at least the distribution channel of Xbox can increase revenues.
They also have a strong hold on what I would call the market that they need to have the hold on, which is a younger market, a market that needs to grow up, knowing that name and associating it with the things they like to do. And Microsoft is kind of an old man's company in everything else except for in games. And this is that. I think that's really important for a long-term strategy. 10, 15 years from now, they want to be known as the company that's sort of on the cutting edge of digital entertainment. And this is a great way to start. Whether they can follow through on that and maximize that and capitalize on it, that has yet to be seen.
And then the question is it going to be enough? Is the entertainment platform, sure, they might have a younger audience. They might be able to carry that audience into the future 10 or 15 years. But is it going to be as solid a base for them as software has been in the past?
Well,
so
that's the question.
The operating system, I mean, they're everywhere. Everyone knows. Even if you don't know Microsoft, you're using it somewhere probably. This
may be good news for the Microsoft Gaming and Entertainment Division. It may be bad news for Microsoft. They may not be able to compete as an entertainment and gaming company if that's what has to save them. And in fact, if you want a completely opposite view of what we were talking about just now, check out Windows Weekly this week with Paul Thurrott and Leo Laporte, because Paul thinks this is not good news.
Yeah, what was it? You're not being negative. You're just forward thinking, I think was Leo's comment.
Yes, exactly.
All right, I guess the question is, has Microsoft Windows ever made $500 million in one day, which is what all of their video games seem to, well, the big titles seem to make these days.
Yeah, and I'd say, I bet the answer is yes. I'm sure with, in the height of Windows, which not even that long ago, it probably has, and probably has surpassed that, which is why this is so scary for Microsoft, that this industry isn't a bad industry to be in, but they've had a gravy train being on 90% of computers out there. That's not going away, but Windows sales sagging 30% is not a positive number for them. Who they're hurting the most with this is arguable. Could be Nintendo, could be Sony. Sony had their press conference last night. It was actually in the afternoon, I think, in Tokyo. But they announced the next generation platform, the Sony NGP. That will not be the final name of the Sony NGP, but it's what we've been calling the PSP2. Real quickly, the specs: 5-inch OLED screen, front and rear cameras, touch screen on the front, touch pad on the back, and fun music along it. We're on the video version, we're showing a little bit of the demonstration. That's the music.
I had the volume up. Sorry about that.
So you got a touch pad on the back, so you can hold it and without moving your hands, take advantage of touch controls. And it may actually sync gameplay with the PS3, so that you can start a game on your PS3, play it on your PSP while you're out and about. I mean your NGP while you're out and about, and then sync it back to the PS3 when you get home. Also, built-in 3G connection We don't know how that's going to work, whether that's going to come bundled or if it's something you'll have to pay an extra subscription for. And the game's stored on flash memory cards.
I think that's really interesting.
The card itself, so they're replacing the UMD, the Universal Media, whatever the disc or whatever they called it. And that was a moving, optical disc that was always kind of a terrible idea. This will support a new proprietary, but new slot for essentially flash memory, a lot like the DS does and the new 3DS will. I think these have support also for SD and other media types, which again the 3DS does as well. What's most impressive about this, and I am a little bit excited about this is coming from someone who dumped his PSP after not very long because I just felt like the games weren't there, the price was too high. It was a swanky device, but just didn't, they just didn't throw the support behind it. It's been incredibly successful in Japan, not as much here. It's done okay in Europe, but Nintendo's kind of eating their lunch in the portable market here, and now Apple is arguably eating everyone's lunch. But this is a really strong play for the connectivity side of it, the store side of it, the touchscreen stuff, the tilt sensing stuff. This is a play to say, we're going to play to our strengths, which was high fidelity, big screen, great graphics, that kind of experience you expect from Sony. But we're also making a real strong stab in the direction of Apple and similar devices, other tablets, other phones, to say, look, we are going to create a seamless store. We're going to make it easy and inexpensive to get quality games. We're not going to make you have to go buy this big dumb disc. There's a lot to like about that. But honestly, of everything I see here, I'm more excited about the 2 analog sticks, because they look like really good, awesome analog sticks. And as a pretty avid gamer, control is everything in a lot of cases, and I feel like that will go a long way to help me want this device. So we don't know price, we don't know final name, but I'm generally excited about it. I mean, it's tentative because they've done little to help the PSP get out of its slump in the States, but we'll see what they do with this one.
Beautiful on the inside, too. Quad-core ARM Cortex-A9 processor and quad-core GPU. So it's pretty powerful. It's going to power Uncharted, Wipeout, Killzone, Hot Shots, Resistance, and Little Big Planet, among other releases. They're also saying a Call of Duty title would be coming to it as well. We're not going to find out the details about this till E3, beyond what they said today. The price, the release dates, the 3G plans, all that stuff, that should be coming later this year, I'm guessing.
It's pretty fascinating they didn't give it a PSP2 name. And I think that there may be...
Well, I haven't given it a name yet.
Well, yeah, no name at all. But it's interesting that, okay, it even looks like a PSP. It looks like a sequel to the PSP. So you wonder, well, okay, why is it not just a PSP2? You call all the other PlayStation lines 2s and 3s. So why not this? I honestly think it's they're trying to create, or they're trying to hedge off this issue of people don't associate the PSP with quality and success, at least in this market. And I think that they're seriously thinking about calling it something, trying to start fresh is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and
we'll see if they can do that.
And you use the P for platform, but it could stand for PSP. So next generation PSP.
Yeah, or next
PSP
generation PlayStation.
PSP TNG, yeah. PSP Voyager, PSP Deep Space Nine.
Just no PSP Enterprise, please.
Yeah. I also want to see what the battery life is going to be on this.
Yeah. But with the flash memory, that it might be improved.
Flash memory, but quad core. So,
right.
Yeah, and how big is it going to be, and all that stuff. I mean, we were showing some rather large mock-ups on the video version. It's not going to be quite that big. I don't.
One last thing, and I don't want to kick a dead horse here, but just imagine if these guys create on their store a way for developers to make. Basically copy the Apple thing and have 99-cent quality games to play on a device that has tactile input and be able to do that quickly, easily, and simply over Wi-Fi or 3G connection, then you have a serious competitor, because a lot of people would really like to game on that thing, but nobody wants to pay $39 for a small portable game anymore. That's gone. That's over. I don't care what Nintendo or anyone else says. That is going to be an uphill battle if they want to fight that battle. And they're talking $40 for 3DS games. And we're probably going to talk about that same sort of thing for retail releases here. But for just, your tower defense games and your whatever other kinds of games that you see just flooding the App Store, Cut the Rope, for example, if that's available for 99 cents to $2 on that platform and they can get it just as easily, that's a really strong play, I think, for Sony.
And don't forget that the Sony Ericsson phone that it will have PlayStation like controls on it is going to be called the Play. Maybe this next generation will be the Sony Play, and that'll make that name for the phone make sense. And they just get rid of the PlayStation Portable because it's not a station. The PlayStation is the station, and the Play Portable is the portable. Maybe it'll be the Play Portable. Who knows? They also announced the PlayStation Suite, which is good news for Android users. An official PlayStation 4 store, filled with games for your Android tablets and cell phones, starting with an emulator for existing PS1 titles and promising an Android game store later this year. They say it's hardware neutral, too. They're developing this for Android, but it'll run on any Android with 2.3. So, and it's possible they could port it to other WebOS, BlackBerry, who knows. But the idea is to free up Sony games from being tied to a device, right?
Yeah, and I think that's going to really open them up a lot to a lot of different people accessing their games. I mean, I don't have any Sony devices personally. I have an Android phone, so it's exciting for me that there could potentially be this way for me to be able to play the games.
Yeah,
you'd also have more of a curated experience, more than likely. And then the kinds of games you would get would be, tested and not just sort of thrown out there and hope everything works okay. So that's a good reason to like this. And again, it's a bit of a stab in Apple's direction to be able to sort of shore up your guns a little bit and do some different things and some stuff to align yourself with the other side. Because really, I think they see them as, if there is a portable threat right now, it's all in Apple's hands. And these guys have to do what they can to sort of fight that.
And they're so smart, I'll just say this real quick, to do this around emulation and everything, because they've got such a huge back catalog of games to pull from. And people, like I've even done it on my PS3. I've gone to the PlayStation Network and bought PS1 games. Now, they look horrible. Yeah. But still, I paid for these really old games that if they weren't offered, they wouldn't have got that money from me, So it's very smart to do this on the portable side, too.
Yep.
And if you're wondering how am I going to play these games, they're going to have on-screen controls if you're not playing on the Sony Ericsson Play, so you'll get virtual,
touch screen,
sticks and buttons. All right, let's take a quick break and thank our sponsor, MailRoute, the way to get rid of spam. If you've got email and it's full of spam, it can stop. All you got to do is try MailRoute. Go edit the MX record on your web host to send all your email to MailRoute servers. They send it back to you with only the good stuff in it. No false positives. They have all the spam and all the viruses removed. And if you don't believe it, which I frankly didn't till I tried it, you can try it out for free. MailRoute.info. Give it a shot. See how it works for you. You can. There's a box that you can go check on MailRoute servers to see what spam they actually removed, so you can check to see if there's any false positives, and you can cancel if you don't like it. But I kept it. It's pretty amazing. It really, really works. Tom Johnson and those folks do a great job. So go try it out, mailroute.info. If you want to keep it, you get 10% off the life of your account. It's $2 per user per month for 10 users. That's for small businesses. But if you're just somebody who hosts their own web host, you might want to give it a shot for $30 a year as a single user. Special deal for TWiT users. So visit them at mailroute.info, and we thank them for their support. On to the next story about Hulu. Yeah. Could you tell I lost my place?
Segue magic.
The next story.
It's another big story. There was a really interesting article in the Wall Street Journal, and this prompted me to want to have Sperling on today because he knows how this stuff works. I think, Sperling, you were the guy who kind of really taught me how windowing works as far as release dates and all that sort of thing. The Wall Street Journal article said that a couple of interesting things. It was very long analysis of their business, but Hulu management has discussed recasting Hulu as an online cable operator. So they would use the web to send live TV channels and video-on-demand content to subscribers. That sounds great. I'll pay my $7.99 a month happily if I get actual live channels and on-demand access to shows. Probably is not going to be as great as I'm thinking it will be. There was also talk that Disney may pull some of the ABC content off of Hulu, and News Corp might do some of the same things with their Fox content, offering instead on Netflix and other premium competitors. So the folks who have the greatest interest in Hulu succeeding because they started it or in ABC's case, invested later, are starting to pull out of it at the time when they're trying to be a cable operator and the cable people. What's going on here? Make sense of this for me.
Well, there is so much going on with this story that I don't even know where to begin. I guess we can start with Hulu being a cable operator. The reason they're doing that is because of what Fox and Disney are saying, that they want to pull out. And, you can even throw NBC and Comcast merger into the mix there, because in the clauses for that merger to be approved, Comcast had to agree that they would not pull content from Hulu. And likewise, if an online video provider struck a deal with a Disney or a Fox for, say, reality shows, then Comcast had to offer the same thing for NBC's content. So there's this most favored nations thing going on where Comcast has to do what everybody else is doing. So they can't pull out of Hulu, but if Fox and Disney pull out of Hulu, then they can pull out. And really, they have to be somewhat careful of antitrust issues, because, they can't, both Fox and Disney and even Comcast can't just participate with Hulu alone. They have to be willing to provide their content to other parties. Otherwise, you have this vertically integrated problem with online content. Although, frankly, after the Comcast-NBC deal, apparently nobody seems to care about vertical integration anymore. I look at this whole story and think, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Fox and Disney didn't let something leak to the Wall Street Journal, and likewise for Hulu. And they're really negotiating through the press. Fox and Disney want a 15-day delay between a show's airing and when it appears on Hulu for free. They don't want anything on Hulu for free. They want everything to be paid for. With Netflix, the deals they cut with Netflix, Disney's deals with Netflix are a 15-day delay. So I get the sense that this is all kind of media manipulation as a way of negotiating.
So you think that the two sides, who, by the way, are in the same company.
Yeah.
And a little background for people who don't know, Hulu was actually started in a response to YouTube, because the networks were tired of pirated shows showing up on YouTube and didn't believe that YouTube was really going to do anything to stop it. And so they started Hulu. Hulu hasn't done anything to dent YouTube. YouTube solved its own piracy problem without needing Hulu. Hulu turned into a success for them, but it wasn't kind of success that they want. But the question for me, Sperling, is it's all eyeballs. So in the end, it doesn't matter whether it's delivered over the air or it's delivered over the internet. If I'm watching it, I'm still watching it. You should be able to monetize it either way. Why is that not happening yet? What do we need to get to that?
Well, that's actually a great question, and really it goes back to Jeff Zucker's whole statement about turning digital dollars into analog dimes. And so on television, you have a cost per thousand when you're selling ads and selling media. That's kind of fuzzy. You don't really know how many people watched. It's kind of a gray area. But on Hulu, you know exactly how many people watch, down to the very last subscriber or viewer. And not only that, but the broadcast television and broadcast CPMs or advertising rates are much, much higher than they are online. So you have Hulu making $260 million. Well, for some of these networks, for all of these networks, that's nothing. That's they could kill that business in a heartbeat. And really what they want to see is they don't want to provide another company with an iTunes-like moment where they're controlling the entire medium and the entire industry. So
but they control the company.
Yeah,
that's right. And they have to be very careful, because the fact that all three of these companies are getting into the same room and working things out, they have to be very, very careful not to get into trouble with the government. I know that if movie studios tried to do that, they'd be in a lot of trouble. And they did do it for digital cinema, and they were very, very careful. They always had a lawyer in the room. They always took copious notes so that there were no antitrust issues. And between the three of these groups, especially now that Comcast is so big, they have to really watch themselves.
They're dragging their heels into a future that's going to happen one way or another. And several people in the chat room have already said, look, if they delay things 15 days, I'm not going to watch it on Hulu. I'm going to get it some other way that they won't like.
Yep.
What they're doing
and
by
they're
having
going to lose the eyeballs entirely.
Exactly.
Well, it wasn't so long ago that just a couple years ago, you couldn't watch TV on the go. You couldn't watch TV on your laptop. But now, I think these networks really have to face the reality that people and consumers want to watch the shows they want, where they want, and when they want. So if they can't get it through Hulu, they will download it through BitTorrent, or they will find some other way to get it. But they will be watching it on their computer. That is the one thing that will stay. So I agree with you. They have to figure something out.
Yeah,
you know what's really my biggest problem is what's being missed in all this conversation is, and maybe this is a side effect of this, but it seems like I have a technical problem. Hulu, half the time, for my $7.99 a month I'm paying for Plus, I'm missing shows that are on the free service that I can't get on Plus, which is totally weird.
Yeah.
Or I can't get it on one of my devices like a Roku or something, that one episode of something. It'll say only available in the computer form or whatever. That's totally dumb. What am I paying for there? Secondly, the commercial servers, whatever they are that are serving up commercial content between, and I'm sure this house is going, it's being distributed among, different servers. The commercial stuff was lagging to the point that 15-second ads were taking about a minute and a half to finally get through after stuttering and stopping. And then the regular programming was fine. It would run. And then I've had other days where it's kind of the opposite problem. Commercials are coming through great, but the shows themselves are stuttering and having issues. So I don't expect perfection. I know this is new ground, but holy crap, I don't know what I'm paying for with Hulu Plus right now. I feel like they're going to have a revolt on their hands.
I canceled my Hulu Plus subscription. It was not giving me even close what I wanted to. Have you noticed with your Hulu Plus, it seems like there are even more advertisements than in the regular unpaid.
Well, because they know
version?
exactly who they know exactly who you are, so they know exactly how to advertise to you. So of course they're going to throw more ads at you. They know that you're a woman, that you're a mother, etc.
And I'm going to cancel because I don't want another cable network. I don't want to be paying for programming with advertising. If I'm paying for it, I want it without advertising. I want what I want when I want, and that's what I'm paying for. If I'm going to watch it free, yeah, fine, advertise to me, whatever.
And it needs to work is my issue. Like, even if you know all of that's true, even if you know your $8 is paying for more advertising, it needs to work better. And when I literally, it's like, I'll be watching something on Hulu, I'm like, this is ridiculous. I will turn Hulu off and I'll go watch Netflix stuff that I don't have any of these problems with. There's not a technical problem that way. So I just feel like that's a big hitch with this. In the midst of all of this, litigiousness and networks not knowing what they want to do, they also have server problems.
Sperling, one last question before we wrap this up. If this is not going to happen, but if a television network decided to broadcast their shows immediately after air or even simultaneously with air on Hulu, and sell the ads, or even say, you know what, we're not even going to put them on air. We're only going to put them online, and people can watch it that way. Would they be able to monetize that as well as they do on TV? In other words, what I'm trying to say is, if it wasn't just the small numbers, if they had the huge numbers on the internet, would they get the same amount of money?
I think eventually, yes. And actually, it would get to a point where it's worth more because people would be willing to pay a premium for being able to know who is watching what and when.
Well, there you go. I don't mean to cut you off, but that's the end of the question then. It's all, everything else is, how do we get there?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem is that right now what advertisers are paying for is 50% of it is for actual viewers and 50% of it is for this gray area that might be viewers but might not be. And as Ken Oletta pointed out in his book Googled, 50% of my advertising budget is misspent. I just don't know which 50%. Networks love that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's breakage. It's wastage. They're making a living off that, and that's what is really going on in most of these industries. Is they're like, well, the dark little corners now have light in them. We don't like that.
I'm afraid though that we're going to end up with a situation where it's very similar to cable, where you started out with something you were paying for that didn't have advertising, that you were getting this variety of stuff that you wanted to watch, and then it just turned into advertisers run wild, and if the numbers of people don't get to the internet, don't get to viewing it on the internet first, I have just this fear that it's going to morph into whatever the networks, whatever the advertisers want, and not what the consumers want.
You mean what we have now?
Yeah.
Well, not going to morph. It's just going to stay.
It's just going to stay, as opposed to becoming something better.
On a side note, Time Warner had their earnings call and announced subscriber losses for their cable business. 141,000 video subs last quarter, added 94,000 internet customers. So make of that what you will. But it does seem to be that people are moving off cable onto internet. This is not just a one-quarter phenomenon now. Also,
but I think actually, not to interrupt you there, but I do believe that part of the reason that's happening is because, times are tough and money is tight and people are tightening their belts. And one of the things that you get rid of is cable.
But they're adding internet.
Is it the same people adding internet, or is it?
I don't know, but if it was a recession, wouldn't they be cutting both?
Actually, I think at this point, if you could live without cable or internet, which would you live without?
And I think that's the point right there.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Canada is come out on top in Netflix ISP ratings. This was, we mentioned this yesterday, that Reed Hastings said Netflix would put out performance on top networks, and he did. Netflix rated by their own algorithm how well different ISPs work with their service, and Time Warner actually didn't do very badly. Turns out Time Warner's pretty good in this whole situation. Number 4 in the United States. But you Canadians may be shocked to know that Rogers and Shaw both beat all U.S. ISPs. You wouldn't think it, but it's true, at least according to Netflix. If you want to know what the worst is in the United States, Clearwire, absolutely bottom of the barrel. In Canada, it was TELUS. But TELUS was probably, I don't know, they would have been in the upper tier in the United States. So you Canadians have good Netflix performance, it looks like. Here in the United States, it's all over the map. But mostly it's the cable companies. Comcast was tops, Cox and Time Warner were the top 3. I think I said Time Warner was 4, but they were the top 3. So cable internet leading the way, according to Netflix. Netflix also announced that they are going to extensively integrate Facebook into their service. And the idea here would be to personalize your account, but also to be able to charge you extra so that if you have 2 people in a household, you can both stream Netflix at the same time. Now, I don't know about y'all, but this article that I read said that you can't do 2 Netflix streams at once, but I think I've done that. So I think you're not supposed to.
But you can.
But maybe the controls that sense that aren't working so well.
Well, you can't do it on the same device / computer, though, right?
No, definitely not. But I've had, my wife's been watching out on the Roku box on Netflix, and I've watched Netflix on my iPad in the other room. Same account.
We do this all the time. My kids will watch it on the big screen upstairs on the Roku, and I'll watch it on a computer at the exact same time. I mean, it's not always optimal for quality. Like sometimes one of us gets
we may be violating the terms of service then.
I mean, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never tried this.
You probably are violating the terms of service, but the reason that they have that is they don't want you subscribing, getting a username and password, and then giving it out to 50 of your friends. So because you and your wife were at home doing it, you were coming from the same IP address. And so as far as Netflix is concerned, they kind of realize that there's two content feeds going down to that, going over to that IP address. But it's one IP address, so you're in the same location, and they pretty much figure that you and your wife or you and your relatives are watching on two different devices.
Yeah, and plus you have the 6-device limit, so
right.
You can't do more than that. You couldn't give it out to too many people anyway, and yeah, that totally works.
Also, in yesterday's financial report, we missed the part where they took ISPs to task for charging by the gigabyte. Quoted from the report, wired ISPs have large fixed costs of building and maintaining their last mile of network. The ISPs costs, however, to deliver a marginal gigabyte, which is about an hour of viewing from one of our regional interchange points over their last mile, is less than a penny. Moreover, at $1 per gigabyte over wired networks, it would be grossly overpriced. So they are criticizing the companies who are saying, well, with all this Netflix traffic, we're going to have to put caps in place and, and meter the internet and charge you per gigabyte. They're like, it doesn't cost you more to deliver our stuff.
Yeah.
Wait a second,
fixed cost.
Tom, are you saying that a telco might actually overcharge people?
No. Oh, no. I was saying that a cable company would. Because they're the ones who deliver the most Netflix.
Yeah, I think
telcos, I hadn't actually included yet, but you're right. Yes, I think I would say that too.
Either one. Does it, switch one for the other? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is not a shocker, but it is a more aggressive stance by Netflix. Time Warner's been poking at them lately, and they've come back fighting.
Yeah, and I think it's great. The position they're in a really strong position. They provide a ton of content from all sorts of different media distributors, and so they've got a lot of companies that they're working with to get their content out to customers. They have lots of customers. They're financially, and their economic position is really strong, and so they're able to make this argument and able to stand behind the consumer, because the consumer is really who they need to stand behind. And so this is really great. I think having Netflix on the side of the consumer in this way is going to be really great, because with the fight that's coming down the road for all of this cable company provider stuff, it's going to be dirty. So we need big companies. Yeah. We need companies like Netflix that are strong to be able to play the other side.
Do you think it's going to get dirty, Sperling?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, yes. I mean, I do think this whole idea of charging for data or per gigabyte will definitely happen. And when that happens, if Time Warner and Comcast and all of these ISPs, who, as you point out, are now cable companies, if they want to charge for by gigabyte, and they want to like double dip and charge Netflix as well, then they're going to have to give up their local monopolies. They can't just go into, say, Southern California and New York and be the only cable provider in that area, because Netflix then has no other choice than to use that particular cable operator to reach a customer.
Yeah,
and that's not the way it is right now.
Real quickly, before we get into news fuse, Google has begun censoring autocomplete results. This is the Google Instant Search, as well as the autocomplete when you type in the search box for terms like BitTorrent, uTorrent, RapidShare, and even Ubuntu Torrent. Which, by the way, is not a pirated issue. No. An Ubuntu torrent actually gets you the free operating system Ubuntu, but it's blocked in the instant search. I don't know what led Google to do this. I can only guess that it is some kind of pressure from the industry.
Yeah, and this was a conversation. This was a story that was brought up. There was the possibility. There was a question as to whether Google was going to do this a few weeks back.
Right, because they were blocking other terms like breast, and when you're searching for breast pumps or something like that, and trying to block dirty words. Now they're blocking words that might lead you to pirated, which the company BitTorrent is very upset about. Because they're like, look, you search BitTorrent on Google, you get legitimate results, not piracy results. You get our business that sells videos and sells music legitimately.
But the point about this also is they're not censoring it completely. So if you search for BitTorrent, you'll still be able to find BitTorrent-related links on Google. So that's still going to be there. It's just the autocomplete or that instant search where they give you possible choices that make it quicker and easier for you to search. So how does this really affect people's search habits, and how does it affect what they end up finding on the internet? That's what I want to know.
I don't want to see that offensive BitTorrent search result come up.
I know. Hide your eyes, children.
Until I've pressed the button.
Well, keep in mind, Tom, that... remember, Google is right now negotiating with all of the networks and all of the studios to get content for Google TV.
Crazy coincidence, isn't it?
Interesting, isn't that?
Yeah. Don't know that those two things are related at all.
Couldn't possibly be related.
No. Norway's Consumer Council, an independent government agency, has received multiple complaints from PS3 owners over the removal of the Install Other OS functionality. It has now taken the complaint to Norway's Consumer Ombudsman, and the council claims that Sony breached the Norwegian Marketing Control Act by removing a key feature after the sale. They say that when a company uses terms like updates or upgrades, it's reasonable to expect an improvement, and this is not an improvement when they took away one of the functions. So Sony in a little hot water in Norway. At the same time, they're up by one in the Northern District of California over George Hotz. GeoHot was the hacker who had figured out a way to crack PS3 signatures so that you could do homebrew apps. It could also be used by people to put pirated games, but he was not advocating that or even enabling that. However, they took him to court. He got out of it. He got a stay on an injunction on a technicality, but it looks like the injunction has now finally been granted. They still have to go to trial, though. This is not a win for Sony. It's just now he is prohibited from distributing the crack. he is the only person who was distributing the crack saying, don't use this for piracy. So now the only people distributing the crack will be people who are not under a court order or under any kind of moral obligation not to say, do this for piracy.
So he was saying, here's the crack, don't smoke it. And now he can't do that. And so now there are other people who are saying, here's the crack, smoke it.
Yeah. Do what you want with it.
Do what you want with it.
That's well summarized. That's pretty much the sense of it now. So good job, Sony.
Sony
ahead,
basically, just as a short note to tag on to the end of this thing, Sony basically produced a product that selling points were, the major selling points had nothing to do with this other OS thing. That was unknown to most consumers. Whether people want to fight about it or not, that's just the truth. Nobody went in there to buy their Blu-ray console and said, but what about the other OS feature? So I get where Sony would go, all right, we gave you guys a feature. It was obscure and kind of for the nerd community a little bit, and you could put your Unix or your Linux installs on there, but now you're abusing it, so we have to take that feature away, but it really wasn't in the top 10 list of features, and then they got in trouble. So I kind of get both sides, but in this one, I kind of feel for Sony. They're just trying to protect the platform and not, have this thing become a major money problem, and it will be if this thing gets hacked to crap.
They need to take a look at what Blizzard and Microsoft have been doing when developers are cracking their devices. That is a much more effective strategy. On to the news views. RAM may stop being cheap very soon, if you believe a report from DigiTimes, with demand increasing sharply for mobile RAM, specialty DRAM, and NAND flash memory. Chip makers are planning to devote less capacity to PC DRAM. If true, it means you should upgrade your RAM soon before the price starts creeping back up.
Police in the
UK. Oh, yeah. Huh? Oh, go ahead.
Police
I cut you off in the past.
It's all good. Cut off. Go! Police in the UK have arrested 5 individuals thought to be involved in DDoS attacks by Anonymous. 3 teenagers aged 15, 16, and 19 were arrested, with 2 men aged 20 and 26. The 5 males are being held after a series of arrests at residential addresses in the West Midlands, Northamptonshire, Hertfordshire, Surrey, and London this morning.
So cute how you Americanize them.
I know. I have to. Because I'm American.
Looking at those HTC Facebook phones we've been hearing about, it turns out they're not for reals. Dan Rose, head of business development at Facebook, said in a statement, it is just a manufacturer integrating Facebook into their device in an interesting way. When asked about Facebook branding, Rose quoted a fictional Cameron
Winklevoss.
Winklevoss. I can never say it right. I've seen the movie 3 times. What's wrong with me? The quote from the fictional Cameron Winklevoss is, no, there's no such thing as Harvard Law, and there's no such thing as a Facebook phone.
Okay, I like the head of Facebook biz dev quoting the social network.
That's kind of awesome.
Microsoft is not a big fan of 11-year-old autistic children, apparently. Julius Jackson was charged by Microsoft with cheating, and they took away all of his Xbox Live achievements. He has not been suspended from Xbox Live, however. His mother, Jennifer Zdenek, is furious. Xbox Live staff have emailed Zdenek 3 times to explain why Julius's game score was reset, but explained that he can still earn achievements in the future. The boy's mother says she will cancel Xbox Live at the end of the month.
It might be overstating it to say Microsoft is not a fan of all 11-year-old autistic.
I know. I just thought,
this one.
I think, one. It's a show. You've got to, drama.
Guess who's getting a PS3, by the way? China's Lenovo is partnering up with NEC for a strategic alliance in Japan. Under the terms of the deal, the NEC Lenovo Japan Group, that'll be the new name, will be formed. Lenovo gets 51% of the shares, and NEC will own 49%, plus the choice of first CEO, for which NEC selected their own, Hideo Takasu. No word on what this Wonder Twin Power activated combo is going to do, other than smile and shake hands.
After a leaked document from the Department of Justice showed police will be able to demand extensive private information for minor offenses, some Swedish ISPs have decided to fight back. Several ISPs will route all traffic through VPN. The data will be logged, but pointless, as it will not be identifiable. ISP Bahnhof says they will give you the option to opt out of VPN, but giving up your privacy will cost $8 a month extra.
Well, just cancel Hulu Plus and you're good. More competition in ISPs is desperately needed, and some hope just launched. Light Square just got approved to sell mobile high-speed internet on a wholesale basis. The FCC granted the company permission to open its satellite and base station networks to a wide variety of mobile broadband partners. The move could mean new, innovative 4G services across the country, among them underserved rural areas.
Let's see who I can offend on this next one. Well, maybe just Facebook. Facebook is getting behind HTML5 in a bigger way by extending a helping hand to social game makers who use HTML5 instead of Flash. Corey Ondraka gave a tech talk on the topic at Facebook HQ last night. He admits that HTML5 is not working consistently across browsers, but touted a benchmarking tool that quote-unquote exercises browsers under game-like conditions to measure how many sprites can move around on the screen at once. Nothing was said about Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper.
No. Just sprites.
No, just sprites.
You can't control Coca-Cola with peek and poke.
Nope.
I just want to point out that Sperling had to handle not only Corey Ondreka, but the Zdenek name as well. So
I did notice that. I wasn't going to say
that
anything.
was not on purpose. That was just the luck of the draw.
That's why I blew
Well done.
Winklevoss so bad. I was trying to help him out.
Yeah, I was trying to make it look
Yes,
better.
thank you very much.
Researchers from MIT unveiled the fastest 3D holographic video system to date in San Francisco earlier this week, filming a graduate student dressed as Princess Leia and projecting her as a red smudge.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's 15
Smudgy.
frames per second. It's only one side of her because what they did is they used a Kinect. They plugged a Kinect in and then were able to create a red hologram. It's a little jerky. It's a little low res, but it's fast. It's for a hologram.
It's the fastest to date, actually. Using the just regular graphics cards, graphics processors. They're not anything fancy, but it's what's found in the Kinect and also in the Macs that you buy from the Mac store.
They actually relayed the data from the Kinect over the internet to a PC with three GPUs and used the GPUs to crunch the numbers and render the video quickly to compute how the light waves interfere and create the hologram. Pretty nifty. Pretty nifty.
And then they take two lasers and they shoot them at each other and create. That's where the interference pattern.
And then you decohere and cohere.
Right.
And then you get Princess Leia.
It's baby
And then you
steps,
get
though, right?
Princess Leia smudge. What?
Yeah, it's baby steps. I mean, one day we'll get to see holograms, I think, that are at least on par with her, and then maybe even better than that. But I'm going to presume that red smudge was gold bikini Leia from the third movie and not the first movie.
Well,
no, it was the Trust
filming
Me,
the
Obi-Wan.
woman.
Kenobi, you're my only hope.
It's the one projected from R2.
Yeah.
Hey, you can't change what I see in my head.
Okay.
Han shot first. On to the calendar. Today, WikiLeaks alternative OpenLeaks has gone live. This is different than WikiLeaks in that they don't allow everyone to just access the leaks automatically. They're creating little drop boxes so that leakers can provide the documents and then media organizations that are vetted by OpenLeaks can then go and investigate them and report on them. Also out today, Skype 5.0 is out of beta. For the Mac group video chat is now a premium feature. You can get it free for 2 weeks, and then I think you have to pay $9 a month after that if you want it. We have a date for Rupert Murdoch's Daily for the iPad. It will debut February 2nd. It's next week at the Guggenheim Museum in New York.
Are you excited about that?
I'm very interested in it. Yeah, I want to see what they do. And supposedly, when the Daily launches, we get the in-app subscription model from Apple as well, which may have implications for the Nook and Kindle apps because Apple's now going to say everybody's got to do everything in-app. Now that we have a model for this, Kindle and Nook now take you to a browser and you buy your books there. Apple doesn't get a cut of that.
Right.
We'll see if they prohibit that.
Should be interesting.
Well, what about the Wall Street Journal and The Economist? I mean, they basically allow subscribers of their paper editions to access their iPad applications and read online,
right,
or read on the iPad.
Yeah, you know, that's an interesting question, because The Economist doesn't actually sell you anything in-app if you're already a subscriber. You just log in and authenticate. Is Apple going to prevent that? I mean, are they going to prevent any? They may not have a problem with any of this. They may realize the Kindle is too valuable, and therefore The Economist and Wall Street Journal can get away with it too. It'll be interesting to see. Verizon iPhone pre-orders start 3 a.m. Eastern Time, February 3rd, if you're a current Verizon customer. And MacRumors is also reporting that there will be AT&T iPhone trade-ins as well. Finally, Motorola Atrix 4G, that's that dual-core superphone, is going to come out at the end of February. This is from Motorola CEO Sanjay Jha. This is not a rumor. He said it during the Motorola earnings call. He also said that the Motorola Zoom tablet was going to come out at the end of February, and then during the question and answer session of the earnings call said, well, the Zoom might slip to March. I don't think it's ever coming out. Droid Bionic and the LTE Zoom are both scheduled for the second quarter. Again, this is all from the earnings call. On to the voicemail. 260-TNT Show is the phone number, or you can email us a file like John did. He's got a perspective on the whole situation with labeling violent video games.
Hi, TNT crew. This is John from Southern California. I just want to make a quick comment about label warnings on video games. My wife and I try to limit our children's video game time playing, not because of any specific violent content, but rather after a certain amount of playing time, they tend to get quite irritable or hyper. Oftentimes the boys will get into fights, or at least arguments about the video game. Sometimes because something doesn't go right in the video game, or they weren't able to pass a stage. And our kids don't play any particularly violent games. They play things like Super Mario Brothers. They play with the Wii and the Wii Play. So we find that if there's going to be any warning about video games, it should be more generally about video game playing. And this goes more towards parenting issues or parent education rather than any specific legislative action. Just my two cents. Thank you. Love the show. Bye.
I'm glad he made it clear that he didn't expect legislation to say kids are crazy. Because we got you're about to have a kid.
That's
You've
right.
got a young kid, Jason, and Scott and Sperling are both parents. Who wants to go first on commenting on the idea that kids get really rowdy when they play?
Sperling, go ahead. I'm anxious to hear from another parent on this issue.
Well, I have two toddler, I guess. Well, one is 5.5 and one is 4, and they're both girls, and they don't really know that video games exist, and I plan to keep it that way until they're about 30, 35, somewhere in there.
Is that like
maybe.
boys?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I keep telling them, I don't know what any of your friends are talking about. Video what? I don't know. But I will say they fight over the iPad all the time. And so I can imagine that if that were translated to video games, I probably wouldn't have any kids at this point. They probably would have killed each other by now.
Well, in my case, I've got older kids. So I've got a 10-year-old's my youngest. It's my son, Nick. And then I've got 2 older daughters. They're both, one's 13, one's 16. But they have been in a household where video games were not only an acceptable form of entertainment, but one that I forced on everybody. Like, this was our thing to do. And I was raised on them, and so were they, gosh dang it. So that's what we did. And we play a lot together. And when we get a new game, we kind of hang out together and play. But there is this issue. My middle-aged daughter, it's not middle-aged, the one that's of the age in the middle, and my
40-year-old daughter.
Right. And my son, they've been playing Little Big Planet on the PS3 and the new one, Little Big Planet 2. And they've been fighting, not like what he is saying. They're not fighting over who gets to play. They're fighting over cooperative experiences. And that is a key thing here. A lot of games today, including the Super Mario Wii game he's talking about, that game is, in the multiplayer portion of it, is all about cooperatively trying to play, and you can really mess each other up in a major way. Adults can do this too. We just aren't going to kill each other because we've kind of matured past that point. So I think that the way parents can sort of educate themselves is get online, go to different gaming blogs and gaming sites, and read those reviews. The reviews go into the multiplayer component, and they talk about whether it's frustrating, whether it's crazy and frantic, whether it's simple, All of those kinds of things always get addressed in these reviews, and you'll find all the info you need to find out if, wow, that game, everyone said that game is crazy if you play it together, and you're going to hate each other's guts when you're done, so we're not buying that game. Or at the very least, we're not letting them play multiplayer. And if we do let them, maybe I'm there with them and I kind of try to teach them or something. But we do not want government in that. That is a parenting choice you can make very easily.
Well, I'd like to thank you, Scott. I never really looked at it as video games as a way to actually connect with your children. But based on what you're saying, it is an interesting way to connect with your children. So I should take back everything I just said.
Okay, let's finish off with a really quick email from S, who says, I don't buy apps on the current Android marketplace because I don't trust the apps because they don't go through any review process. I used to think that Apple's method was too oppressive, but once I got to the free and open Android world, it was a bit scary. I may be getting worked up about nothing, but the thought of messing up my phone worries me more than messing up my desktop because I'm more comfortable with the desktop. I honestly don't try many apps that aren't mentioned by the TWiT gang. If Google wants me to pay for more apps, they better start paying you all money. Well, yeah, that would be nice. But just so you know, S and anybody else who's interested in Android, Jason Howell is working on an Android show.
Yeah, I'm actually working on a new Android show for TWiT along with, well, Tom, you may know her, your wife, Eileen.
Yes, I do know my wife.
Yes. Okay, good. I'm glad we have that out of the way. But anyways, last Monday, we kind of got together and did a public brainstorm on twit.tv. This next Monday, we will be doing the same. So come to twitlive.tv next Monday, 12 noon Pacific, and we're going to be kind of bouncing around ideas. The show is completely creating on the fly with your input. So show up and help us form our idea around the show.
Live.twit.tv. Thanks, Kiki. We're going to miss you.
Thank you. Well, I'll be back, but just not here in person.
We'll miss you until you're back in person.
Okay.
Yes, we will.
I'll miss being here.
But we're very happy for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jay Sperling, Reich, we'll miss you too until the next time you're on.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. Let folks know about your podcast and where they can find you online.
They can find the podcast at showbizsandbox.com. It's a weekly entertainment news podcast that is kind of modeled a little bit like This Week in Tech. It's entertainment journalists sitting around talking about the week's entertainment news. This week we had Ann Powers from the Los Angeles Times. You can find it at the website, or you can go to iTunes and subscribe there. And in fact, we're in the middle of a subscription drive now, so I would encourage everyone to go to iTunes and rate it and rank it 5 stars or better would be great.
Check it out. Sperling's knowledgeable, and he gets smart folks to talk to and explain all this stuff. So if you want to go more in depth about this kind of thing, you want to check out showbizsandbox.com. Also, you might want to check out Scott Johnson's new morning show.
Ooh.
Yeah, the Frog Pants Network has a new morning show. I'm hosting it. We have a guy in the booth named Brian Ibbett. I think some of you may be familiar with him at coverville.com. It airs Monday through Thursday every morning, 7 a.m. Pacific until about 9:30 Pacific. And my first week went really well. We are extremely proud of it. It's growing and doing awesome. So if people are interested in checking it out, we talk about politics and news and celebrity garbage. And we even had a therapist on today to answer questions. That was really fun. All kinds of cool stuff. You can learn more at frogpants.com/TMS, short for The Morning Stream.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. You can find us at twit.tv/TNT. Email us, TNT@twit.tv, or give us a call, 260-TNT-SHOW. We'll see you tomorrow.